Hi, welcome back to the first show of Season 2 for Inside Great Lakes Skiing. My name is Greg Norman. We are sitting here early morning in the Rochester in the Ski Company, and Mick McLaren's going to spend a little bit of time talking about boot fitting and actually going to get my boots refit. I was on race boots for years. We went to the Nordica Cruise 120s a year ago. Now we're going to get them kind of set up a little bit better. They're a little bit sloppy, but they're great boots. But we're going to talk a little bit about the idea of making sure your boots fit correctly and why that's important. We will be bringing you 12 shows this winter, and it's something that we look forward to. And on this show, we'll bring you former Olympic great Tommy Moe, who won a silver and a gold medal. He's the only one in American history to do that in Lillehammer, 1994. We'll talk to Tommy from Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And then we'll go out back to Vail, and we'll talk to Brenda Bergoglione. And if you remember Snow Motion, she's going to bring some tips for our show this year, and she's going to be involved in it. We've got some really cool interviews set up coming up over the next few weeks. Ted Ligety will be on board, Darren Rawls, hopefully Lindsey Vaughn. We want to be able to bring you some really cool information and information from guys that have been around for a long time that are ski racers, as well as the local information. We'll look at some of the local ski resorts. We'll take a look at adult racing, high school racing, all that goes with it. There's some new areas opening. Canonsburg will be back open. Norway, all the way up in Iron Mountain, is coming back online this year, so it'll be a fun season, and we hope to be able to bring you all that is sliding down the hill. We've been on sailboats all summer. We had a chance to be in Barcelona. We've been a little bit with the Olympics in Marseille, and we look forward to having what I think will be a really cool season. So that being said, we'll be back in a second with some boot fitting from the best in the business, from the Rochester Ski Company, Mick McLaren. Okay, explain what you're doing.
So what we're doing here is we're going to make Greg an insole, or footbed. We're going to replace the stock insole that the boot comes with, which is very subpar. It's just foam filler material, has no support whatsoever. So this is the raw material we're going to start with to make an impression of Greg's foot. So, of your foot, sorry.
Second person works, third person works fine.
The third person. So first and foremost, what we do here is we set him up on this box and get everything aligned the way we need it. So we've got that under control. Now we're going to remove some air from here and actually make this solidify. So.
Now you're saying inside the machine is sand,
Yeah,
which obviously gives you the impression for the inside of the foot.
exactly. It's allowed to move around, it makes a nice impression.
And as I'm looking, I should also make sure that I keep my knees together, which is where I'd be on a pair of skis.
Yeah, well, you want to make sure the center of knees are directly over the center of your feet, or as close as possible, so that we get an accurate impression.
Explain a little bit. Obviously, skiers, that they spend a lot of time on boots, they get their boots fit. But why is it important to have a good fitting boot for everybody? I mean, it doesn't cost that much. It's the old story. You could have. We said this for years. If you got a $100 pair of boots, but you've got them fit correctly, they're going to be warm if nothing else.
Yeah, it's everybody will tell you this. Boots are the most important part of your equipment. Everybody loves to talk about skis, and that's fun and all. But if your boots are not working or they're painful, you're going to have a rough day. And for the cost of a lift ticket these days, you don't want to be in and out of the lodge all day long with your boots off and rubbing your feet. So what we're going to do here, in your case, you've got a 2-year-old boot at this point.
Yes.
It's got some miles on it. The liners are getting a little packed out. The boot has actually some excess space in it. So we're going to kind of purpose build this insole to try to stabilize your foot.
Okay.
Take up a little bit of volume at the same time and give you some more support. Should improve your performance and comfort.
Okay, now on something as simple as hot spots. People have boots where it maybe hurts at the ankle, it hurts at the toe. Yeah. You have an ability with machining where you have now, even older boots. Yeah. You can shave, you can mold, you can bend to get around a lot of those things.
Yeah, a lot of those problems start from the foundation though. Let's say the skier has flat feet and pronates excessively. Of course, it's going to drive the inside ankle bone into the ankle part of the boot. As we get older, things happen with your feet. A lot of women have bunions from wearing shoes too tight, that kind of thing, and that can cause real problems in a ski boot. We have all the ability to, with heat and hydraulics and stretching presses, that kind of thing, to make a boot customized to make sure we can make space for that. A lot of times people will come in here and, oh, the boot's killing me on the outside of the foot, but it's totally caused by that excess material on the inside of the foot. So if we can get that bunion, get that nice pocket for that to fall into, then the foot lays nice and straight in the boot. So yeah, we do all that here, of course. We've, kind of known as a good boot fitting shop. So this is step 2 of the process. After making the impression, we're going to put some posting material on the footbed. And then we have to trim it all off and shape it and fit it to the boot.
As Mick is working on the bottom of boots, he made mention that there's all kinds of opportunity for different, processes within skis. We had a problem 2 years ago. I had a problem 2 years ago with the atomics that I've been on for 4 or 5 years and loved dearly, but could not get my foot into them. It was just too much of a hassle. I walked in and basically told him what I needed. And Nordica has a line of 5 different ski boots that cover a number of areas. And I got this Cruise 120s, so the flex on the boot was still pretty solid. And now we're just going to tighten them up a little bit. But there's all kinds of products that are available for the average skier to the expert skier. And it's something you should really take a look at. Welcome back to the second season of Inside Great Lakes Skiing. We're lucky enough to have with us one of the great premier downhillers in American history, and Tommy Moe. We're talking to Tommy from Montana. Am I correct on that, Tommy? You're in Montana?
Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Jackson Hole, okay. What a beautiful place that is. You've been part of that ski school, and you get a chance to ski with Tommy Moe as part of the program the last few years. And how long have you lived in Jackson?
I've been in Jackson Hole 30 years now. I moved here in '94, right after the Olympics.
Okay. Well, let me start with the simplest of questions. I've asked everybody who's ever been a part of an Olympic program what it's like to wear their country's colors. You did it in spectacular fashion in Lillehammer with 2 medals, a gold and a silver. But here's my question. Is a gold medal to you in your lifetime, is it worth $1 million?
Oh, I think over time, it's definitely the monetary side of it. It's definitely over $1 million. Just like back when I raced, I had great ski contracts with Dynastar and Look and Lang, and over the years I did a lot of different endorsements with different companies, and the money side of it's been great. It still has some staying power, and I still get invited to go to different corporate outings and ski with guests. And if I would have won now, it would probably be worth like $3 million.
The influence of inflation, as it were.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let me kind of take you back. You grew up in Montana. Dad was a ski patroller, and that's kind of where you got your start, right?
That's right. Yeah, I grew up skiing in Whitefish, Montana, and the ski area was called Big Mountain Ski Area. They changed the name, I think, 10 years ago to Whitefish Mountain Resort. But as a young kid, I grew up skiing up in Whitefish and loved it from the very beginning, and fell in love with racing at an early age. And back in the 80s, it was pretty much just racing. There was, Phil and Steve Mayer and Ingemar Stenmark and ABC Wild World of Sports on TV, and that was kind of the only thing that was on TV, and that was my dream, to be a ski racer.
When Dad is his patroller, you obviously started at an early age, because that's what dads take their kids to work, so to speak.
Oh yeah, we'd go skiing on the weekends up in Montana, and we were up there, drive up the mountain road. It's like 7 miles from the town of Whitefish, and we'd end up going up to the ski area, and pretty much we'd ski with the club on certain weekends, and then other times we'd just be free to rip wherever we wanted to, and we'd go hit jumps and ski the powder. And we were all mountain skiers at a young age.
When did you know that this was a lifetime obsession rather than maybe just an avocation?
I think it was when I was pretty young. I think I was probably 12 years old when I went to a ski race. I think at Snowball, which is up in Montana, and I had a chance to compete against my brother and all his teammates, and I ended up beating all of them. And I was a couple years younger, and they didn't really like that very much. But
To help you
yeah,
went you went to Glacier Creek Ski Academy. Does that help you prepare? I think of Ski Club Oakland. I think of, we have a ski club here called Ski Club Oakland or Ski Club Vale. Some of the various teams around the country. Does going to that academy help you set up? You make the national team at 16. That's really early, right?
oh yeah. I made it. When I moved to Alaska from Montana, I went to this ski academy called Glacier Creek, and we were going to school in the morning from 8 to 12, and then we take a little lunch break, and then we'd go out and hit the slopes at Alyeska from pretty much like 1 to 4. And as soon as I started training daily, for at least from Wednesday through Sunday, I started doing really well and progressing. And I had a really good coach at the time. His name was Chip Woods, and I skied my way right onto the U.S. ski team that season at the U.S. Nationals in Copper Mountain, Colorado.
As an adult and a guy who's been around the sport his whole life, you have children who are involved in ski racing. Could you imagine your children being on the national team at 16? And my question is that too young, or was it just one of the things that you were ready and you just took the opportunity?
I took the opportunity. I don't think there's, if you look at like Michaela Schifrin, she started racing World Cup at 16, and when I look back on my career, I think it was invaluable to have some experience at 17. I started racing on some World Cup venues in Europe, and I definitely wasn't very fast on those World Cup tracks. But when I was 17 years old, I was with like Bill Johnson and Doug Lewis and Mike Brown, and I was just this young, teenager from Alaska with really big eyes, trying to figure out, some of these World Cup courses in Europe. And it was invaluable though, because by the time I was 19, 20, I was scoring some top 20 results, but I'd never really progressed. And then AJ Kitt came along and he won a World Cup in Val d'Isere, and Kyle Rasmussen and myself, we had a little synergy going with our team at the time. And it took me a while to mature physically and mentally to get the confidence to do well in the World Cup.
And when you were on, who was Bob Beatty? Obviously, had retired. Who was the U.S. coach at the time?
When I made the national team at that time, his name was Teo Nodig.
Okay.
He was a Swiss guy, but then there was Jim Tracy and Gary Miller, and we traveled around as a team, and yeah, great memories, great times.
You found speed better than technical. So how is it that you've ended up with sort of a speed guy instead of maybe a technical guy?
Well, when I was younger, I was pretty good at slalom and giant slalom. I loved racing gates, and in the '80s in Montana, we were racing on bamboo gates, of course, and then plastic came along, and then there was like the gates with the hinges on them. The rapid gates came out, in the late '80s, early '90s. But at a young age, I was pretty good technically, but then as when I started doing pretty well in downhill, I just loved the speed and the jumps and the whole aspect of it, and the whole sport itself is just top to bottom. Whoever's fastest wins. Loved it.
You had a great junior career. You'd won a number of awards at the junior level, a couple of them up in Alyeska. So
I did.
skiing on home turf a little bit, I think, helps you a little bit. Is that fair in your career?
Fair enough. That World Junior Championships. I went to a few other World Juniors. The first one I went to was in Norway. I think I got second in the downhill. That was kind of a breakthrough. And then they extended the age group to I think it was 16 through 19. So when I was 19, I made the World Junior Championships, and they were Alyeska, and I was a favorite in the downhill. And we went out of the starting gate in that race and ended up kind of trying too hard and ended up getting fifth place and was defeated. And all, there's a lot of press there from Anchorage Daily News, and I just didn't put it together that day. But the next day I ended up relaxing and finding my form, and ended up winning the Super G and combined events at the World Junior Championships at Alyeska in '89.
All right, so you start at 17. By the time '94 comes around, you're 22 for World Championships. Obviously, the Olympics at Lillehammer. First of all, what's it like to wear your colors as a country when you're really doing it in the Olympics? It's got to be a once in a lifetime thrill. And did you, to some extent, catch sort of all of it in a bottle, flash in a bottle during those? Because you were dominant in that Olympics.
The 22, or actually, excuse me, 92 Olympics were in Albertville, France. And that's where sometimes I have like a little timeline and I talk about my career. And, the World Juniors were kind of a breakthrough. And then the World Cup in 92, I actually had some top 15 finishes. And then I qualified for the Olympics in Albertville, France.
Right.
And I didn't really do that well. I got 28th in the downhill and 20th in the Super G. And I was just frustrated and thought I was going to do better. And then the next season, when I was 23, is when I had my breakthrough. I was
Okay.
actually in Whistler Blackcomb. I went up there for a World Cup, and I just had this feeling that I was going to do really well that day. And everything was coming together for me that season. I'd been in the top 5 a few times, and then all of a sudden I went to Whistler and felt really good and got second place. And then I think I ended up that season ranked in the top 10 in the world in downhill. And then the next season was Lillehammer. They changed the from 92. It was 94. So it helped me. I was ready.
You're Norwegian. Does winning a gold and a silver in Norway, is there some combination of that that's pretty good?
Last name Mo. Yeah, that's right. They kind of, I was a favorite, going into it. Andre Chatil Alma was the favorite actually. And he'd been winning world championships and Olympics and every World Cups. And his teammate Lassie Cuse, those guys were so good, and they'd been pretty much dominating the World Cup tour from I think 92 on. And anyway, 94 came around, and I was actually an underdog. Nobody really knew who Tommy Moe was, and that race was unbelievable because I just said to myself, either I'm going to win a medal or I'm going to crash. I don't got nothing to lose here. I got 4th in the last training run. Andy Mills like, so Tommy Moe, how do you think you're going to do? You got a chance to win a medal? And I said, oh yeah, I think I can get a medal. I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to go out there and give it my best.
I'm a Lake Placid guy, so I grew up at the bottom of Whiteface, and I've had a chance. I worked for the New York Times for a bunch of years, and I ended up was in Lillehammer. And what I remember about Lillehammer is your dad had an Alaskan flag. Am I
Oh yeah.
remember this right?
Oh yeah.
And if if I remember right, they got it on television with your dad waving the Alaskan flag,
Oh yeah.
which is pretty cool when you're from Alaska.
Yeah, he had the Alaska flag waving, and then he had a wolf skin parka on.
Yeah, he was obviously very
It's
proud.
like, yeah, it's a fur jacket. Yeah, and so he showed up right at the downhill as the race started because he was traveling all the way over from Alaska, and uh, the whole Olympics in Lillehammer was perfect. They had great conditions. Everything was organized really well. The U.S. team, we were staying actually right up on the venue itself in a cabin. And my teammate Kyle Rasmus and I were just like, this is it. We're going to do well here. And that whole Olympics was so memorable just because everything came together for me. And I just remember I loved the track itself. The downhill was super fun. It had all the elements. It had big jumps. It had big round turns. It wasn't like the most difficult World Cup like Kitzbühel or Birds of Prey, but it was a step down and had all the elements that I liked. And when I watched my run from back then, it was amazing because everybody else had a little bit of a mistake, but I put it all together that day and went down in history.
Tommy, do you think you were did you learn something from the crazy Canucks? You skied with a sort of a reckless abandon. Bodie gets a lot of credit for that now, but you were really the first guy that sort of let loose. I mean, I would make an argument for Bill Johnson in Lake Placid, but part of his problem was you don't know if he was high or not half the time. And
Yeah.
in your case, you were so strong on your skis, you took chances that most guys couldn't take because of your leg strength and your body strength. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, when I was 23, I've matured physically and mentally, and I got second in some World Cups, and before that, I'd never won an international competition, so I was definitely an underdog going into Lillehammer. But when I was at the starting gate for that race, I was like, "This is it. I'm gonna win a medal or I'm gonna crash." Was my mindset, and everything came together. I had the Dina Star skis I was on were top notch. I had one of the best technicians on the World Cup. His name was Willie Wiltz. And it was a long time ago, but all the stars aligned on that day, and I took home. I beat the Norwegian favorite in Norway by .04, and I think he's still pissed about that.
You had a Boeri helmet deal at the time, and they put out a poster of you coming down the hill. That
Oh
was,
yeah,
I think anybody who was a ski racer had it on their wall somewhere. You
oh
were good.
yeah.
You were good at marketing too. You did a good job in those days of making
Oh,
sure everybody
thanks.
knew who Tommy Moe was.
Yeah, thank you. It was just at that time when I looked back at some of the ski racers like Stein Eriksen or Billy Kidd or any of those past champions. I wanted to move somewhere and kind of be an ambassador for a ski resort. That's how I ended up moving to Jackson Hole. Was I came here right after the Olympics in '94, and they said we'd love to have you. And I came to Jackson and skied as a young kid, and the marketing side of it was fun. I got to travel all over the U.S. and I started working with International Management Group, and they helped me do a lot of endorsement deals. And throughout the years, it's I still get invited to go to certain events and ski with some business people or corporate events in Deer Valley or in Aspen, and yeah, it's been a fun ride. If there's any a race to win, it's the Olympics.
No, I don't doubt that. We had Andy Mill on last year, and Andy went from being obviously one of the world class skiers to probably the best tarpon fisherman in the
Oh
world.
yeah,
And he's done. I mean, he's done all kinds of stuff with tarpon fishing and from a television standpoint. And there is careers after sliding down the hill.
yeah. Andy Mill was awesome because in Lillehammer in '94, he was the guy that, along with Tim Ryan, that called my run.
Yeah,
So they were the guys that were talking about it. And Andy, I remember saying, if I was to put money on anybody at this race, it's going to be Tommy Moe because he's looking good. His technique is on fire, and he's gonna win a medal. And Andy's just great guy, fisherman, outdoorsman.
yeah.
What a great guy.
Now, your best World Cup season was '94. You finished third. You had eighth in the both downhill and overall standings.
Right.
And you have this great year. And then March of '95, you go back to the place of glory, go back to Norway, and have what is a pretty severe right knee injury, which kind of derailed you for a while.
For sure. That was the '94 season was awesome. Like you said, I ended up third in the downhill standings and eighth in the overall World Cup, and I scored 2 Olympic medals in Lillehammer, won a World Cup in Whistler, and then the next season came around, and I was just looking for that elusive win. In '95, I got second, I think, in Tignes in a Super G, and then I got third in Bormio, and then throughout the middle of the season in January, I kept scoring like in the top 15, but hadn't been winning and was a little bit disappointed. And then at the end of the season, we went back to Lillehammer for the World Cup in Kvitfjell, and I was having a great run in the Super G. I was like, "This is my course." I did well here last year. I'm gonna do well and end up on the podium, hopefully. And I was going down the track, and I went out of a turn at the bottom, and one of my skis kind of hooked left, and one ski kind of hooked right. And before I knew it, I was kind of stuck in the back seat, and I just fell right on the tail of my skis, and my right knee pretty much exploded, and I blew up my ACL. And getting up from that wreck, I was like, "Oh my God, I just blew my knee out." My coach is like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Nope." So I ended up skiing down, and then the team doctor at the time skied up, and he's like, "Let's check it out." And sure enough, he said, "Yeah, I think you injured your right knee." So I flew back to Stedman Hawkins Clinic in Vail and had a reconstructive surgery on my right knee, and I never really came back from it. I mean, I did defend my title in '98 in Nagano, Japan. I got eighth in the Super G and 12th in the downhill, and then I retired.
At the age of 28.
28, pretty young.
Do you think if the knee would have stayed maybe a little healthier, or if you'd never had the accident, you ever wonder or look back at what might have been?
Oh, a little bit. I kind of had a crazy career because as a young kid, I always wanted to win an Olympic medal. And once I achieved that, it was kind of hard to figure out what to do next. Just because I always loved the Olympics but I when I look back at my career from '98 when I retired, there was definitely 4 more years there. I think I could have, if I would have been a little more committed and more focused on ski racing but it was just at that time I started racing World Cup when I was 17, and I'd been on the World Cup for 10 years at that point, and it was hard to really stay committed.
Where are the gold medals? Or where are the gold and silver medal now? Are they displayed someplace, or you got them stuck
Yeah,
in a drawer?
I have, I have, I have them here in Jackson Hole.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
I've asked that question of a number of gold medalists, and actually one of them had said, "Yeah, he said sit in my sock drawer." He didn't
yeah.
know where to put it.
You want to see them?
Just one of those things, you know.
Wanted to see where they're at. Yeah, I still have them in
Okay.
a little case, and I travel with them. Certain events, I'll bring them with me and let people wear them. Yeah, they're already 30 years old. Time flies.
Yeah, for sure.
To be a good skier, you need to be able to separate your lower and upper body. Your lower body is your ankle, knee, hip, and your upper body is your core, shoulders, head. The reason why you need lower and upper body separation is that you need to get this downhill ski up on edge. And the only way to do that is put your ankle, knee, hip into the hill and your upper body separating it and putting it down the hill. We need this drive down the hill to counter the forces that we created on our skis. If I don't separate my lower and upper body and I'm a straight line, I don't have any force or power on my skis. So I'm gonna slide my turns. We wanna carve our turns. And the ski is a tool. We want to put force on that edge. The ski is made with camber. When I put my ski up on edge and I bend it, it has energy. If I don't bend that ski, I'm just going to be sliding it around. When I bend it, I'm going to create energy out of that turn, and it's going to release me forward. But the only way I can bend that ski is if I separate my lower and upper body, countering the forces that are created under that downhill edge. So remember, if you want to set that edge and make clean carved turns, especially on the steeps, you need to separate your lower and upper body. Get that crunch right there, and you'll make beautiful carved turns.
We see athletes as the ones that set goals in the recovery of a life-altering injury, the individuals that redefine the magic of getting back up, those that reframe their own recoveries to not be identified by their disability, but by what they will find next as their new ability to succeed. We are High Fives, the safety net of the outdoor sports community.
We don't just repair injuries, we look within to harness the body's own power to heal and decipher the delicate balance of tendon, cartilage, and bone. Developing new treatments so you recover faster. The Stedman Clinic and Stedman Philippon Research Institute. The future of orthopedic medicine is here.
Did you ever wonder, as in the latter years, if you weren't a ski racer, what you might be doing now?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a great question. I think I would have been in the ski business, whether it was a guide or a ski patrolman or being involved with some sort of ski industry aspect. Just because I love the outdoors, I love being out on the slopes. I love sunny days, skiing the corduroy or skiing powder, but there is the aspect of the Olympic medal, the Olympic life seems like a whole different part of my life. now, but I did start a heli ski lodge in Alaska in 2006 with a good friend of mine, and we've been running that toward Drillo Mountain Lodge, winter heli ski trips for since 2006. We've been doing it almost 20 years now.
The the hat you have on, and certainly the poster I have behind me,
Yeah.
that's been running for a long time.
Yeah.
Is it Mike Wigley was the first guy to sort of get that off the ground in Banff. Everybody wanted to heli
That's
ski
right.
in the day. I remember doing a story for Ski Magazine back probably in 75 or 6. I'm an old guy, so and we didn't have wide bodies in those days. In fact, behind me, my brother-in-law just back. Remember the ski with the squares on it?
Oh yeah.
He just brought me back my old original pair that Bob Burns had put out back in the day, and I got it up in the ski rack now. It can't use it anymore. But we didn't have fat bodies in those days. You had to just go ski. What is it you like about sort of mountain, helicopter skiing? What's the thrill for you for doing that?
I think for me, I think the heli skiing aspect is it's amazing because I love skiing like Jackson Hole, and I'll go down to Utah and ski Snowbird and Alta and Snow Basin and all the resorts that we have in the U.S. are awesome. I mean, great, fantastic resorts, big wide open runs. But when you do go to Alaska and or even Canada for that matter, you get up in the backcountry and you get dropped off by a helicopter, and it's just pristine, untracked. And a lot of people really love to heli ski just because there's no other people around. So you can make your own tracks down the mountain, and it's private, and enjoy the whole experience of floating on crystal snow that's nice and soft. And everybody has their own style, whether it's, backcountry skiing or skiing resort or alpine touring or snowboarding. There's so many different sides of winter sports that are just fantastic.
If you're thinking about booking with your organization, you better be at least an intermediate skier. Is that a fair part of it? Because you feed them well. I've had a couple guys that I've talked to that have gone up to your lodge and they like the food better than they like the skiing.
Oh yeah, we have amazing food. We got great chefs. We have hot tubs, saunas, and the outfit itself is pretty small. It's only 12 guests per week, so we have a big table where everybody sits together at night. We have 5-star cuisine and great wine, and it's just kind of a family style lodge with fantastic staff, great guides, great pilots, and everybody that comes up there really does like the food. But the mountains themselves they speak for it. They're big mountains with great terrain, and it's not too overwhelming. A lot of times you see videos of Alaska and everybody thinks it's super steep and too gnarly of terrain, but that's not the case. We just line up the terrain with everybody's ability and go out there and have a good time and stay safe and try to find really good snow.
You still on Dina Stars?
Yeah, I love the Dina Stars. I still ski Dina Stars. I ski on Wagner's too. We have a partnership with Pete Wagner, and he makes some really wide, like, boutique powder skis for us that we use in Alaska. But the Dina Star M108 is what I use here in Jackson. So it's 108 underfoot, and then I'll even cruise on some narrower, like, hard pack skis when it's really fast for the groomers. And for that, I use like a 77 or 80 millimeter underfoot. As you know, Craig, it's nice to have quick skis when it's hard and fast.
Yeah. I turned 70 this year, and this is my first year. I'm still going to work with the NORAM guys from Norway because I got a couple friends that are coaches, but I can't get off my 165s. And I was with Fisher for 30 years, and now I'm with Blizzard. So they gave me the new Brahma skis.
Oh yeah,
98s, and I tried them in the spring at the pro show, and it was like they're 183s, but they got a 17-meter turning radius. Like, holy crap! Now I don't have to work as hard because, again, age is what it is. You get out of the plug boots and you get into something that's a little more comfortable to your foot. And that was my point of, if you're coming up there, if you're going to look at booking something that's helicopter wise, you really got to be at least an intermediate level skier because it's going to be really difficult without that talent, I think. Is that fair?
it is. Strong intermediate because there is some blue terrain. We have black diamond terrain if you really like big and steep and continuous vertical. But we just try to align the terrain with the skier ability, and we have the Wagner skis up there, and they're like 130 underfoot, 120 underfoot. So it just makes it easier for everybody to enjoy the snow conditions and be able to take 8 or 9 runs a day. And we'll get you back to the hot tub and sauna and then have a nice dinner. And people love it.
Now, your daughters or your daughter, I'm not sure which one. Do you have a couple daughters that both compete, or just the one
Yeah,
daughter that competes?
I have 2 daughters. Taylor is 16, so she's a first year FIS, and then my younger daughter is Taryn, and she's 14.
When Tommy Moe is your father, are you a good father as a coach, or are you a crazy guy?
I'm pretty easygoing. It's she has Taylor's. This is her first year FIS, and she's getting ready to go to a ski camp down in Colorado. And my wife Megan was also an Olympic skier, so we have tough boots to fill for poor Taylor. When your parents are Olympians, that everybody expects do well. But for me, it's just go out there and give it your best, have a good time, try your hardest, be a good sport, and Taylor's just at that age now where when you start the FIS, it's pretty difficult to start with 990 points, and so she's going to have a kind of a difficult season this year, getting some points and learning the ropes of the FIS tour.
Megan, your wife, was one of the best, certainly this country's ever produced, one of the better skiers in the world. Are you even the best skier in your household?
Not anymore, not anymore, Gray. I'm just trying to keep up. Taylor's so fast that both of them they ski down to their training courses, and I just kind of watch them and let them go. But that just happened like the past year or two.
Right.
But they're at an age now where they're in a whole different league, and love watching them compete and race. And we get to go to all these fun places. I went down to Mammoth last spring with Taylor and coached an American downhiller camp with Marco Sullivan. That was awesome. And then we travel around to Snow Basin and other resorts throughout the West and competing on the tour.
Now, if you want to ski with Tommy Moe, you can come to Jackson Hole and sign up through the ski school. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I still work for the Mountain Sports School here in Jackson Hole, and I've been doing it for almost 20 years. I guide backcountry trips if you like to go into the backcountry, or if you just want to ski the inbounds terrain here in Jackson. We have tons of really challenging, fun terrain. So this is a great mountain to have a guide.
Let me bring you back briefly to Michigan. The World Skiing Hall, actually the National Ski Hall of Fame, is in Ishpeming, Michigan. And I'm not sure, were you there for the induction?
I was there.
I've asked this question 100 times because, like I said, part of my family's from the UP. How does the Ski Hall of Fame end up in Ishpeming, of all places in the world? But
it seems like it should be like in Vail, Colorado, or Aspen.
Park City, maybe, right?
Park City would be great. But I think the reason it's in Ishpeming, Michigan, is because it was the site of the first ever ski jumping event in the United States.
Yeah. I've got just down the road, if you go back, I've got a picture in my office in Munising, Michigan. This was 1937. If you come around Lake Superior, you can see up in the hill where the trees used to be, where the ski jumping is. And I've got a picture of a high school ski jumping competition between Munising and Marquette. And there are 30,000 people in the parking lot in the bottom of the hill watching the ski jump.
Damn.
In those days, because iron mining was such a big deal, lots of Scandinavians came to the UP to work in the mines because it was an easy way to make money in those days and get out of the countries they were in. And ski jumping was a huge deal. And if you look at Iron Mountain, they've got that ski flying hill, and it was a pretty popular sport. I think that's part of the reason that the Hall of Fame there, but it would still get a little more traffic. It was in some place not quite so remote, but certainly you should be very proud of making that, because it's a pretty impressive place if you walk through it. Some really good stuff.
It is. It's amazing. I went there and walked through and saw all, Bob Beatty and Bill Moreau and Phil Mayer and Steve Mayer and Johnny Mosley. And it's an honor to be inducted into the Ski Hall of Fame in the United States. And it's just a historical area when you go through that place. It's so cool to see all the different photos of all the different people that made a little difference in the ski industry in the United States.
Last question, and it's a real simple one. What is it that you love so much about skiing?
I think for me, the thing I like the most about skiing is just the freedom. The fact that you can go out there and go as fast as you want. You can make your own turns. You kind of turn off the rest of the world and just let it fly and let gravity pull you down the mountain. And I was lucky enough to grow up skiing in Montana and Alaska. And now I live in Wyoming, but it's just a great family sport, and I still enjoy being out there with my friends and having a good time and going fast.
How often does the four of you guys get on the same chairlift and be able to ski? Does that happen quite a bit with the family?
Sometimes, yeah, it does. Here in Jackson, we get all four of us together, and I was looking at some photos of my kids that, from when they were really young, just 5, 6 years ago, and now they're teenagers. So, now we go out and ski and have a good time, and it's just great family sport. Love it.
Tommy, I appreciate your time. You're certainly a class act and one of the great skiers in American history. So appreciate your time. Have a great winter, and hopefully we'll get a chance to get down the hill at some point.
All right. Thanks, Greg. Yeah, thanks for having me. And all you Midwesterners, keep enjoying all those great resorts out east. We're out in the Midwest. I've been up to Boyne, and I've been to Blackjack. And I think all the skiers in the Midwest are great because you guys love being out there, enjoying the fantastic snow, and keep having a good time.